usually younger adults or people who are on Instagram believe that personal branding is these accoutrements of success instead of actual success, like actually helping people, actually doing things that are meaningful, actually creating value, not peacocking.
Hi there.
Good to see you. I think it's just you and me right now, so we can get going. You came 2 minutes early.
I've been here more than that. I like to get places early.
Yeah, according to Zoom, you got here at 1:57, which I like because
Okay,
on time is late.
there you go. Where are you?
I'm in the lounge in Vegas, about to go to New York, flying out a little bit later.
I did get to use the lounge pass a couple times in the last month or two.
Oh, where'd you go?
Well, I went to New York and then Virginia and then Boise.
Okay.
So I was the one in Las Vegas and the one in Dallas. Didn't have any luck in New York, but
Which New York?
no, Washington.
Oh,
Washington.
Washington.
It was yeah, they closed it at a certain time for priority pass.
In BWI or DCA or IAD?
IAD.
Oh, right. IAD. Well, IAD is more international anyway. That's better if you're flying internationally through IAD.
I
Cool.
noticed I noticed
Yeah.
you're talking about, what did you call it on the website? Personal brand manager. What is a personal brand manager? Is that just a GPT?
No, a personal brand manager is a document, but the GPT can help you process it. So let me share my screen because this is important. A lot of people, they get confused by all the terminology we have. Do you see this?
The four stages of the content factory.
Personal brand manager, this document is how we measure how strong your personal brand is. And of course, if we have a lot of stuff with you and your wife and the students, these kids, other professionals that talk about all the different topics organized in the topic wheel and whatnot, and we process it, post it, promote it, which are the four stages of the content factory, then all of these raw ingredients can be tracked and repurposed through these stages. So this document that holds all of these items of authority, of influence, of relationships, of experiences, of proof, of sharing expertise is how we want to organize that. So the framework that the personal brand manager is organized on is called the topic wheel. So the topic wheel at the center has you and also your company. You can have multiple topic wheels that all go back to topics, and the topics go back to connections with people that share those topics and the particular stories. So when all of this is organized properly, that makes someone Googleable because their personal brand is not what they say about themselves, but it's what other people have to say. And the other components of authority, which is who they're with, what they've done, and where it's being shared. So when it's being shared on, an industry site in a well-known conference or with someone else who is, someone else's podcast that's well respected in that space, then that builds perceived authority, which is great for marketing and sales, but also great for just reputation, PR, reviews. Some people call it influencer marketing. But this whole structure organized together is what we call the personal brand manager. So most people get confused because they don't understand that it's not about just publishing X number of pieces of content, or it's not about the number of followers, or it's not even about some of these social media things that people do, but it's about taking your experiences, your authority, your trust, what other people have to say about you, and organizing it into this framework, and then having somebody on an ongoing basis manage it, track it, find the winners, optimize it, put more money against these winners, right? Like your wife's book, that's probably something that should be $1 a day on Amazon, right? But if you don't have the framework of the personal brand manager, then how do you know which content is the best content? Because you have to collect all the content together, you have to organize it in the right way, you have to figure out which ones are winning, and then be able to put more money against it, right? So this is not about, even though it's called personal brand manager, it's not about personal branding, like how famous you are, or you're a celebrity, or you drive a nice car. Like it has nothing to do with that, unless that's one of your topics, right?
No, not one of mine.
No, I'm just saying that's what these are
Yeah.
common misconceptions. Usually younger adults or people who are on Instagram believe that personal branding is these accoutrements of success instead of actual success, like actually helping people, actually doing things that are meaningful, actually creating value, not peacocking. Look at the fancy things that I wear, or look at the fancy place that I'm at. So this is all about organizing the substance of who you are, how you create value, how you help people, who else is saying good things about you. So when there's high authority, we have all these components. So your personal brand is the sum of what other people have to say about you. So if you are, for example, I flew out to London to be with Tom Breeze, who's the #1 guy in YouTube ads, and he interviewed me. I interviewed him. So him interviewing me on his podcast is a great endorsement that I'm someone that he respects in the world of digital marketing, right? And vice versa. So there's a way to collect all of that influence, collect all the things other people have to say about you, your clients, or, for example, Sinead had a recent issue with the vendor, and that vendor didn't treat her right. And I came in and I helped fix that. And we had to, twist some arms because this guy didn't want to play appropriately. But because I helped Sinead on that, I think now she's gone around and said all these good things about me because I did something good for her, right? And some people call that paying it forward or the golden rule or just being ethical or whatever you want to call it. But that's like one ingredient that you'd want to put inside the structure of the content. The content factory is the process of taking all these assets and pushing them through and extracting maximum value. And people say good things about you, but I would say, David, of all the people that have ever said anything good about life, your counselors, your company, like any of these things, good experiences, good reviews, publicly visible or not. I'm not saying like Google, that's one of many ways to manifest a compliment, but do you have a process of systematically collecting it and organizing it into this topic wheel? You've got a lot of relationships, right? Just imagine like who are the people that you and your wife know, right? All these sorts of people. Let's just pretend that this was your network, right? How is that manifesting to drive your business? That's the question I'd ask. It's not even a theoretical question. It's a very practical question. You see what I'm saying? I'm sure these experiences are there, but my question to you is, are you actively and intentionally organizing them? And with most entrepreneurs, the answer is no, right? Oh, I'm so busy. I never got around to it. I need someone to do it. I know I need to do it. I know, I'm so busy working on my business. I haven't worked my own brand, and I intended to get a book out, but I didn't. I wanted to lose 50 pounds for New Year's resolutions, but here's my excuses of why I didn't do the thing I said I was going to do for January 1st. It's like, but so I don't think anyone's going to disagree that this is a powerful framework and it needs to be done, and that our reputation is the most important ingredient in our business. It's not like Dennis is really good at Facebook ads and SEO. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just a technician. It's your ingredients. So if Sinead has all these great ingredients of the stories of people that have overcome serious health challenges, and you get into the story, not like, oh, I took this pill and now magic results 20 days later. No, I'm saying the actual story, like a Hollywood level story where you identify with them, you go on their journey, you understand the problem, you look at solutions that they've tried, and there's expertise there, like, oh, I'll try that too, and this, and I also am doing this, and so you're sharing expertise as you're going on this journey, trying to solve problems to reach the goal of being healthy, or reach the goal of my student being my parent, my child being a straight A student or being successful. Like, we're all helping people achieve a certain goal. And if we can show proof of that through our programs, then people will buy our supplements. People will come to our learning center. People will buy, same thing if you're a plumber, right? You can show you have a history of fixing broken toilets and water heaters and whatever. And people are like, oh, well, he did it for all these others. Clear proof. He's done it for all these other people. She's done it for all these other people. You probably do it for me if I have a broken toilet, right? So this is very, I think, fundamental, very 101. But for some reason in the world of internet marketing, people want to skip to the really sexy AI stuff, the cool thing that just came out, instead of, why don't we just start with meat and potatoes like this? You know what I mean? I don't know if you're a vegan, maybe I'm offending you, but why not start with, what do you guys think about this? Right? This is so fun. This has nothing to do with Snapchat or TikTok or LinkedIn. Or, like what do you want to be known for? What are the most powerful stories? Not theoretically, not conceptually, but I'm asking you, what are those specific stories? For example, I made a video in Australia. I can click on it and play it, but I don't want to waste your time. But I made a video explaining my why and how I had an incredible life-changing mentoring situation, right? With the CEO of American Airlines, and how it changed my life, and how Now that's inspired me to do this with other people who were in my situation when I was a young adult coming out of college and didn't know what I wanted to do. And so this story, not because I say it's a good story, but we tested this story. We ran $1 a day against it. We made articles about it, and the story resonated. Was it because I was in Australia at the ocean? Was it because of the nature of the content? Was it because of, I don't know, there's all kinds of reasons why this particular piece of content was, performed well. And because of that, I put $1 a day against it and then created similar content. So because I've created so much around mentorship, I'm like, well, this is clearly a signal. I should do more mentorship. I should create more around that. I should, build training around that. I should, I should try to repeat the same thing for Parker Nathans, right? And then Parker Nathans can do this for other, trying to, 80-20, 95-5, amplify. This is the whole point of digital marketing. It's amplify the thing that's working, right? So what's the thing that's working best in your business? And as obvious as it sounds, how do we do more of that instead of let's try this random new thing? Look, I'm all about testing, but I'm kind of a lazy tester. I want ingredients that are already proven, and then how do we get more out of existing things? And then when that's the case, you build a reputation on, I know a little something about startups. I know a little something about SEO, not because I say so, but because there's, clear proof. So I should be able to Google, David Stoll, Jill Stoll, and see that if we execute the content factory process, store everything in the framework of the personal brand manager, the result is everything's consistent. When I Google you, when I go to social media, when I go to your website, it's all consistent because those are just all reflections of the same framework of what we stand for. Here's our stories, here's our expertise, here's our relationships, right? What do you think, David? Does that answer your question?
Well, my main question is, how'd you get all that together? We have a book of 253 pages of written testimonials, but I don't have them on video. I do have a few on video, but in your response here on Facebook, you talked about going to ChatGPT and I just wasn't sure the process to go about building this.
Okay. So you have, for example, lots and lots of stories of these parents and their kids and how you help them, and you put them into a book, right?
Right.
So how does that fit into this 4-phase process? Well, you've collected a whole bunch of these stories in the purple box, the first phase, right? And maybe with light processing, you turned it into a book, which is here in what color is this? Teal, light blue, right into this 3rd phase here, right? So you have a couple components in the purple, very light processing. So it's a thin red line, and then one asset over here in the book. But if it's in a book, why wouldn't it also be in all these other formats? Well, then your answer might be, well, I collected it as text. Well, it's very hard to turn a text thing into a YouTube video, into whatever it is. So that's why we always like to start with the raw ingredients in phase 1 is videos. Because if I have videos, remember you had that open house and Jill interviewed all these other experts in learning development and ADD and all the different areas, the topics connected to what you guys do, right? Well, now that you have these videos, that can be turned into all these kinds of things, right? TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Google My Business, a book, Reddit, Quora. It can be turned into the raw ingredients. If the ingredients are quality stories in video format, we can turn it into anything. You know what I'm saying? So if you start with stuff, and people who've been around a long time, I've been around a long time, you've been around a long time. Maybe a lot of our stuff was we wrote an article for a print magazine. Well, that's good. It's still proof because it's in an industry magazine. But then how do we make it so we can actually repurpose, meaning reuse that asset that was a couple pages inside this magazine or some article into all these other components? Well, then we have to maybe take a picture of hold up the magazine cover and say, hey, I remember when, and then you talk about what happened. You kind of reshare the expertise. Now you tell a story about that, and that allows you to, that's a way of processing and repurposing the existing content, right? So the whole idea of this thing, of digital marketing in general, is what are my winning assets? And if the book is the winning asset, if that's the one that's convinced all these parents, because these parents can do all kinds of things, right? For their kids. They hear, oh, it's medication, or it's this other program, or it's, whatever. I can read these books or watch these YouTubes, or here's what some other expert has to say. Why would I listen to you guys, right? Well, if the book is the one that has been the convincer of all the different things that drive the business, that drive more parents into the open house and sign up and they're qualified and they have income and, whatever it might be, then let's get more out of that winning asset, right? A lot of people, they want to jump straight to, you see this last stage in gold, the dollar, this is the dollar a day
Right.
thing, promote.
Right.
They want to jump straight to promotion. Oh, that's all I heard. Dennis has this dollar a day thing. Let's just run dollar a day. Dollar a day against what? Well, then you back into step 3. Dollar a day against the book on Amazon, dollar a day against a video on Facebook, dollar a day, to run ads on Google, dollar a day on what? And then the question can become, well, I made a video saying, hey guys, I just opened my store, buy my supplements because I want to drive sales. Yeah. Okay, great. But that content here in stage 3, was it processed? Not just buy my supplements, 20% off Black Friday, right? And then that goes back to stage 1, which is, okay, is there real power behind that? Did we start with a hook? Did we make clear that we have authority to talk about that particular topic? So usually people that come in, biggest problem with dollar a day is people want to start running ads when they've skipped phases 3, 2, and 1. Does that make sense, Sinead? You're nodding.
I'm laughing.
Isn't that what happens in internet marketing? And I think, the person who tried to scam you, shall we say, was
Yes.
promising all of these sales, promising, oh yeah, we can rank number 1 on this very competitive term for this particular kind of supplement or whatever. Whoa, wait a minute. How are we going to jump from 0 all the way to all of a sudden outranking? The competition on those health terms is insanely competitive. How is Sinead going to be able to beat all these other people that have way more authority and trust and proof and money and customers and marketing and reputation? And so this guy made a promise to you, Sinead, that, and you didn't know because you're not a digital marketing person. You just trusted what this guy said. And he said, I'm going to jump you from nothing with no content, no reputation. And if I just build a website, sales are going to come rolling in and you're going to be an internet millionaire. Right? Whoa. Wait a minute. How about stage 1 before we build? Okay, so you understand a website here is in box number 3, phase 3, website, a book, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, a direct mail ad, a radio ad, like that. You understand that those are channels, right? It has to live somewhere on a channel, right? So the stories themselves live independently of whatever channel. You can process it so then it can live somewhere on the website, on Twitter, you know what I mean? Most people, they just confuse, they like mix all 4 of these stages together and then they have no idea of how you have to separate. See what I mean? You got to separate into these 4 stages. So we looked at your stuff, Sinead, and we had this audit that we published, which we linked to you, to show that, we're happy to run ads. We're happy to fix your website, which is here in phase 3, but that's not your issue. Your issue is you don't have the ingredients here in stage 1. So I would focus on the ingredients before ever worrying about WordPress or LinkedIn ads or like isn't that a little bit like, shouldn't, if we're building a house, shouldn't it be more important to make sure we have like an architect with the blueprint and all that before we just start painting and hammering and nailing and pouring cement and like shouldn't this sort of like general plan blueprint be in place first? I'm not even asking rhetorically, I'm asking you, like, don't you think so? But this other guy that you paid a lot of money to, but got your money back, thankfully, had to twist his arm. He said, oh, I can build you a skyscraper and you don't need any steel or concrete or glass or whatever. You can just have a skyscraper with no, like, built out of what? Air?
Yeah.
You have a skyscraper built out of air.
Yeah. The lesson
How's that going to work?
the lesson I learned actually from that, Dennis, well, there was 2 things because I knew this guy. So number 1, I trusted him. So I have learned actually that I shouldn't be so trusting in the future. The second thing is I never looked for hard evidence, actually, and that goes exactly to what you were telling David and I'm not sure who else is here, that's what we need to do. We need to have the evidence because he didn't show me. He was telling me stuff, about this and that, but like there was never evidence and I never looked for it.
Because
you're saying we should be proactively putting it out there,
But even if you're looking for evidence, Sinead, how would you tell? Like, how would you know? Like, what if all this like SEO, technical, this and that, and I don't understand all that. It's like a mechanic telling you, it's going to be $10,000 to fix your car because you have a broken transmission and a broken engine, and you're also low on blinker fluid, right? That's the way to get people to refill the blinker fluid, right? But you're not a mechanic, so you're like, okay, yeah, Dennis, it's easy for you to say to verify and inspect. But I don't
Mm.
do this for a living. I'm a 60-year-old man who does this or does that. And I don't understand all this like internet social media stuff. So easy for
Yeah.
you to because you can, Dennis, you can instantly tell that what he's saying is a bunch of nonsense. But how do I tell?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I know that I should inspect and not just trust anything some random guy tells me. Well, the way you tell is you say, okay, I want to see that if you promise this result over here in stage 4, I want to know what ingredients are you using? Are you saying I don't need to have any ingredients at all? Like I
Hmm.
don't even
Yeah.
have to have like a strategy or proof or working model or existing customers. You're saying I can rank number 1 on this very competitive keyword in health with nothing and no
Hmm.
ingredients. Okay, that's a red flag. Even if you don't know how exactly technically to do the different things, and like you can just say like, okay, so I'm going to you. You're claiming to be a master chef. And with me giving you no ingredients at all, you're going to prepare veal parmesan
Yeah.
with no veal and no whatever ingredients go into veal parmesan. You know,
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Hmm.
No, but I'm a master
Yeah.
chef. I have the best tools. I have the best kitchen. I have this $1 million oven. I have the same frying pan that Gordon Ramsay uses. Yeah, but you don't have any ingredients. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what the ingredients are. I have the list. Okay, well, if you say so,
Hmm.
because if it's upon payment, then or a payment is upon completion and results, then I'm going to pay. So you just need to pay me all right now. That way I can take your money
Yeah.
and hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does that help you, David and Sinead? This framework,
Yeah.
like I feel like we can't talk about this framework enough because it's so like I've been talking about this for many years, and I don't think I'll ever stop talking about the same framework.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense, Dennis, to be honest with you. And like I have been for the past few weeks, well, more than a few weeks, I have just stayed away from social media because for some reason I don't know, I had the block because I know you were saying, where are the videos? Where are the videos? But
Mhm.
there's part of me that when I go onto social media, Dennis, that but like, and I just kind of think, really, like people are kind of posing, and it's about,
Yeah,
and that just doesn't engage me, and I feel that's not what I want to be doing.
yeah. You don't have time to waste consuming and comparing on social
No,
media.
but what
You
I'm
need to be
trying to
building
say
your
is,
business.
no, but what I'm trying to say is, I'm seeing so many people who are in business, but they're like kind of posing, posturing, oh, look at me,
Right.
I'm wonderful. And I don't want, that's not what I want either, And
You
it's,
want to help people. You're not going to rent a Lamborghini, Sinead?
yes, yes,
Well, maybe
absolutely.
if you rented a Lamborghini, your business would be more successful.
Do you think?
I'm kidding, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like it's just to me, what you're saying is perfectly rational and sensible. So it's just really to maybe set up a framework for ourselves. I mean, David, I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing. How can we just, set up a process now, like how starting tomorrow, where I systematically do this, and
Mhm.
if that means kind of like um part of what I'm going doing, Dennis, just to say at the moment, I'm going talking to gym owners because
Good.
I want to target the fitness industry, right? So I feel it would be
Hmm.
really beneficial if I could speak to maybe 20 gym owners and get a really good insight into their business. So, like, that's something that I could put up on social media and I'd feel happy about that because
Hmm.
that's something that's practical and worthwhile, but as
Yeah.
opposed to posting for the sake of posting, I that cracks me up. I've no interest in it.
So if you interview gym owners, that's actually creating real value for other gym owners and the people they serve instead of posing.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe insights that probably both of us, I'm sure those conversations would help to trigger or maybe highlight something for them that they hadn't thought about, or
Hmm.
insights that
Hmm.
can come up. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing
Hmm.
would be better.
Yeah.
And yeah, Maria's asking there, look, how long or if Google GMB allow videos,
What do you think, Sinead? For Maria's question, how long should a video be?
minute or less.
1 minute videos, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you
okay.
can do 15-second videos, 30-second videos. I think GMB, Google My Business, which is now called Google Business Profile, does truncate these videos. So even if they cut
Yeah,
it down to like 30 seconds, if you don't capture their attention in the first few seconds, everything we teach in the
mm,
1 minute video course, like it doesn't matter if your video is 5 minutes because people already left after the first 2 seconds.
Yes, yeah. And so, Dennis, like I struggle with the tech side of things, and also what kind of, I suppose, intimidates me is if when I go on, and the way, I mean, I can't even describe this properly, but where somebody has all these little stories.
Yeah.
Like, so are you literally saying, like, if I just put an honest to God, telling it as it is, something that that I felt was valuable or that I discovered in my call with the gym owner, a 1 minute video without anything fancy pantsy is worthwhile.
It is as simple and basic and obvious as that.
Okay, thank you.
There's no
Because
trick to that. That's
yeah,
literally the most basic ingredients of relationships and authority and trust, especially if you're interviewing them in a podcast-like way where you're asking them genuinely for
yeah,
their
yeah.
expertise or thoughts on how to do this or that or their advice. I mean, what a
Hmm.
podcast host does, a good podcast host, is they
Yeah,
elevate the person they're talking to instead of turning it around to a testimonial. Oh, why don't you just talk about me and how good I am? Right.
yeah. No, no, yeah. I mean, you see, I feel, Dennis, is that the supplements will help the gym owners. It would bring them another revenue stream, but I need to get more information from them.
But Sinead,
And
consider
yeah,
this. Gym owners, if anybody knows about selling supplements and have been seen ads on selling supplements, it's gym owners.
yeah,
And so if you
yeah,
come to them without authority and trust, they're like, you know what? Here's another girl in an MLM trying to peddle whatever supplements. And they may
yes,
think, I know supplements better than she does. What right does she have to tell me about these other
mm-hmm,
supplements? Well, it's because of L-arginine and the way energy production works and the immune system. Like everything you're saying there could be true. But back to what we were talking about with David and the topic on the personal brand manager and like all these things to show that you are credible. If you
yeah,
don't lead with the credibility components, Jill Stoll has a book and she's interviewed these other experts and they have a lot of these students and then you can clearly see they have a track record of helping these students, learn these coping tools to unlock, their genius and whatnot. If you don't
mm-hmm.
lead with that, then you're basically approaching gym owners from the standpoint of like, okay, who's this random woman to be giving me health advice? Who is she? See
But the
how that
thing
looks?
is, I do. But the thing is, Dennis, I'm not going to be approaching them, giving them advice. What I want to do is find out about their business. What are their challenges? Like
Yeah,
for instance, in Ireland, the government is just after raising VAT, which means that's going to be another couple of percent taken off
yeah,
the top line for all gym owners.
yeah,
So, and like equally, I suppose what I'm saying is, I feel this would be a good market. But then until I have these conversations, I don't know that. So
right,
I'm coming to them to have an honest conversation. I have strong
right.
business skills actually, so I may be able to help them some way there in return for them having the conversation with me, so that we can. It's mutually exploring.
Yeah, yeah. You're saying
Yeah,
provide value first. Yeah,
yes,
I agree.
okay,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. And then
yeah,
if you determine that gym owners is your target clientele where they're selling supplements to all their members, then once you have a
hmm,
couple happy gym owners that are doing this and they're making money and more importantly, their members are getting healthier first and then
yes,
they're making money, then more gym owners will say, you know what, I should be incorporating Sinead's thing
yes,
into my program.
yeah,
Or put a thing
and
on our
that's
front
the
desk
way.
where we sell all the protein powders and vitamins and the waters, people check in and
Hmm.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
they have some of the
so,
trainers, maybe some of the trainers are using it and they find that they get a better workout. And then they tell the other
yeah,
trainers, right? That's the whole model that we're teaching here. You have to
yes,
show proof of it.
and
So you're at the stage of trying to generate enough proof so then you can get 10 times more of that initial proof.
exactly, exactly.
That has
So
nothing to
this,
do, but I want to clarify one thing for you.
yeah,
It is because you keep saying you have a technical challenge. I do not believe you have a technical challenge. Do you see why?
okay.
Okay, it's like whatever, like Omar and David, we agree. Sinead does not have a technical challenge, even though she doesn't understand all the technology with these other things we talk about, right? It's a strategy problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
But look, honest to God, thank you so much for just even clarifying about me just doing a simple, no frills, 1 minute video every day. That like I can do that now. But
Yeah.
I was thinking I need captions, I need to do all this and that, and I don't. So thank you for that. I mean,
Look,
ideally,
we can get fancy later, right? But
yeah,
initially, you just want to get the
exactly.
basics. Like you want
Get
to run
out
a
there.
marathon, you want to run a marathon of
Yes.
world record time. You know, Nike has these new shoes that have carbon fiber plates and all these things that make them very, very fancy. And yeah, if you're trying
Yeah.
to go from 2 hours and 1 minute to 2 hours to break the record, maybe
Yes.
that extra whatever random little piece of technology makes you just like a couple seconds faster in the marathon over
Yes.
26
Yeah.
miles. But what you're trying
Mm,
to do is complete your first marathon. So that
exactly.
means, so you start by and you walk 1 mile. And if you don't have the
Yeah.
fanciest $500 running shoes, then just start by walking a mile in flip flops. You walk a mile in flip flops first. You're not going to run your marathon in flip flops. Can you start by running a mile? So the ingredients
Yeah.
of 1 minute videos, like
Mhm.
Maria knows this, right? Like Omar, we had asked Omar to collect these videos, right? Or David collected his initial videos, and or you know, initially he didn't make the videos, but like because he was worried about all the sort of technical details. I'm like, just make some videos, just like make some
Yeah.
videos, like just get the ball rolling. You know, like, can we just run a mile? Let's walk a mile first, and then later we'll get about the fancy stuff on, you know.
Yes.
Oh, but I need to have the
Yeah.
exact like most aerodynamic clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we get to that point, we'll do that, right? But not right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get you to your first, say, few $1,000s a month. Once you're there, then let's
Yes.
talk about
Absolutely.
hiring VAs and having a fancy website, and you know,
Yeah.
all that
Okay.
technical stuff can come later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
actually, I've started back getting out onto the mountains myself. And so I need to be posting about that.
yeah. Because people will
Oh,
buy because of who you are, because they identify with
yeah.
your vibe and
Yeah.
your values. And
Yeah.
anyone who buy, people don't know this about, especially in e-com, about selling product, because you're trying to sell product. It's not, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the product has to be good, but people buy because of people. No one wants, I'll put it this way, very simply. Nobody wants to buy supplements. Not like I wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
like, I want supplements. What people are
Yeah.
thinking
No.
about is, no, I have pain. I am out of
Yes.
breath. I want,
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed because this other, I'm not healthy and I just turned 50 and my belly extends over my belt. Or they want solutions to problems. And when they see other people that are just like them, that they identify with. So other gym owners
Yeah.
are succeeding, or other
Yeah.
trainers are like other people in my situation are having this problem, are overcoming this problem. My child has ADD or what, the psychologist diagnosed my child with these things and wants to give my child all these pills. But actually, I know that that's not really the answer. But I see these other parents went to Stoll Learning Center and everything's good for them now because they learned, through this program.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they don't want the program, they want the result.
Right.
Yes.
I think about any of it has nothing, it could be like Omar and his wife, it could be Maria, it doesn't matter. We are helping people solve a problem.
Mhm.
My,
Yeah.
my air conditioner isn't working, or whether it's too hot or whatever, like there's a problem. We're helping people solve the problem. Nobody wants the service or product. They want the problem solved. And once we realize that
Yeah.
all the content we make, these 1 minute videos, is all around establishing trust and helping them see like, yeah, this is a reliable, trustworthy thing I can count on to solve my problem, then everyone signs up.
Yeah.
But you'd be amazed at how many people in the world of digital marketing want to try to claim it's about your headline and the copywriting and the way you do captions on your YouTube or thumbnails, or like, I mean, yeah, those are all things that we do to tune, but that's not the main thing, right?
Okay. Hmm.
So now you know what you need to do, Sinead, right?
I do. Absolutely. No excuses starting tomorrow morning.
And you're very clear on what the issue
Yeah.
is and what you need to do. Okay.
Yeah. I am. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm excited. And I'm proud of you because this thing that you have overcome is the barrier that most new entrepreneurs, they've run up against this barrier and they just fall down and they can never, that's what crushes
Yeah.
most new entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They think the money is really easy because all these people on the internet, like you said, the ones that are posing, whatever, make it look like it's very easy. Like, how come I'm failing if it's so easy? Well,
Yes.
it's not as easy
Yeah.
as they make it look. There's these other things with the 4 stages. We need to have the first stage. You cannot skip that first. No, I'm going to jump straight to stage 4 because I have
Yeah.
great AI tools. I don't care how good those AI tools are. You cannot skip any one of these stages, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, which
Yeah.
of these 4 stages can you skip? Good luck.
You can't.
It's like the human
Thank you.
body. Human body has all these organs. Maybe you can
Yeah.
take out the appendix or some other things that aren't like super necessary, but I guarantee you, like your stomach, you actually need all those things, right? And then
Yes.
that's the framework that like you need in your digital marketing, digital marketing body. You need all these things.
Yeah.
People don't. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the reality is there
Awesome.
are all these coaches who aren't actually doing great business anyway. That's what I've come to realize as well, so
Yeah, they're fat weight loss coaches. They're just trying to take your money.
yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Dennis. This was
Thank you,
really,
Sean.
and thanks, Maria
Awesome.
and David.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
Omar, how you guys doing?
Hey, how's it going? We've seen better days for sure. We joined a little bit late because we were on the phone with QuickBooks. We had to fire our accountant today.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we've only been in business for a year and a half. The first 6 months of 2023, we didn't keep any books or records or anything. We were just trying to survive. So
Yeah.
2024, first thing we did was hire a bookkeeper through somebody that recommended her or whatever. Well, it's now November 2024, and we never saw a balance sheet, a P&L, nothing. So,
Oh
and I mean,
no.
yeah, it
Oh
was
no.
summer and we were crazy busy, and now it's light season, so we were crazy busy again. But we joined this weekly meetings as well with an HVAC plumbing specific group on Wednesdays with some pretty high caliber people on there. And they laughed at me when I told them my problem yesterday, and they were like, "You gotta fire her like today." And so we
The
fired her.
accountant? Wait, is it a bookkeeper or an accountant or both?
No, yeah, she was a bookkeeper. I'm sorry, I keep using
Okay,
accountant.
because they're not the same thing.
Correct,
Because
yeah.
some people will do both, but with the bookkeeper, without, I'm sure this is what these guys told you in the mastermind, but without you needing to ever prompt, they should send you a weekly report from QuickBooks, which only takes one click to generate. I can show you how myself. It has 3 components in it. One's the profit and loss, one's the balance sheet, and 3 is the statement of cash flows. And you as a business owner need to understand how those 3 tools, and I have a finance degree, believe it or not, undergrad. Those 3
Nice.
tools all are necessary in evaluating the health of your business. And the production of these, like I said, in QuickBooks, I love QuickBooks. I don't care if it's the desktop QuickBooks or it's the online QuickBooks. It's very easy to generate these 3 statements you need to look at every month. And so the production is easy. One click, emails it out. I think you could probably even automate sending it, but I always I like to have a human actually do the thing, because then you can analyze it. You can say, well, we made, our cash flow improved, but our liabilities actually increased because, we bought a new machine, or we hired some more people, or, or one client churned out, or this, like they allow you to analyze. For example, without like doing a whole finance lesson, you could technically on the book show massive profit, but your cash flow is actually getting worse because the timing of invoicing, right? Like, oh, it looks like we're making money, but they don't pay for 90 days, but our cash went down even though we got new clients. There's all these common problems that happen when your balance sheet, your income statement, and your statement of cash flows, which is what trues up, which reconciles what happens with your balance sheet and income statement, right? The thing that brings those 2 together is the statement of cash flows, money in and out. So the money in and out is not the same as your profit, which is what you report to the government to pay taxes on, right? And that, so maybe you have debt, you have deferred liabilities, you have, prepaid commitments, you have people who are paying over time where you can recognize the revenue now or in increments, or like there's all of these things. So I would ask you, if you had this accountant bookkeeper for 6 months, are you getting these 3 documents? And are you having a quick 15-minute meeting every month to discuss the P&L, right, the income statement, and then how that affects your balance sheet via the transactions and the statement of cash flows? Does that make sense when I'm talking about these 3, or you've not heard about these 3 before?
Absolutely. No, we know exactly. And that's what it's extremely frustrating. So these people that we meet with every Wednesday, that's all they talk about. It's numbers, P&Ls, margins, all these stuff, right? And it's extremely frustrating because I would meet with her, once a month or whatever, and she kept leading us on. And I guess I don't, I was way too nice, to not say stupid, honestly, to just keep believing her that she was just pushing it off, pushing it off.
How to go on for 6 months? Why wouldn't it be done in the, like, after the first month? I'm like, hey, where's our,
Right.
you know, what'd you say, like February or January? Like what, like, okay, let's analyze our February results. Like what,
Exactly.
like what percent of our calls were booked? What was the average revenue? What percent paid? What percent did we have to redo? And what was our labor cost? And how many people? If you don't have this every month, you're flying blind. I know this is like what these other guys told you, but like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you just
Exactly.
at the first month? I would have just asked for all the money back. Like, what am I paying you for? You should have done this the first month.
Yep.
And it kind of became, and yeah, everything you're telling us, it's like you're just reaffirming
I'm like, I told you
everything else.
so. Yeah. I don't mean
Yes.
to be rubbing it in, but you know, that's
No, you're good. It's good because that's how we're gonna learn. It was just, I guess, like he said, it became a thing where it was like, well, we need to clean up 2023 so we can have the numbers for 2024. So it was like a thing where we're like, okay, I guess
Yeah.
it makes sense. Like if you're telling me, like we knew last year's was a mess, but then it was like, okay, on us. And then it just became a thing where it was like, oh, there's a lot of questions we need you guys to go answering about transactions. So we would go into that. But it was always like, it was kind of in the back of our mind, but we were still like, okay, let's trust, I guess. And that's because we had the conversation when we first signed up. We were like, look, this is where we're at. We want to take care of this at the beginning of the year so we can end good.
Right.
It's not the same just taking care of 2023. And that was the idea.
Right.
And it just became a thing where, and I know Omar would tell me, and I was like, I yes. I feel like it was like a thing where it's like I would be like, oh no, yeah, she says I need to answer those questions, and I'm the one that's behind. But then I think it was with the audit where I was like, well, I know I needed to do this, and the person that did the audit asked me like, okay, how many questions are you behind on? And I was like, yeah, it's like 160. And he was like, okay, then how many transactions did you have? 200?
Okay.
I was like, no. He's like, okay. So he kind of put into perspective where I was like, it makes sense. He's like, exactly. You had way more transactions than 160 than 200. He's like, I'm pretty sure it
Right.
was way more than 1,000
Right.
for you to
Right.
think it's because of you, it's being held back. So yeah.
Okay. I understand their point of view, because if you have to recast, or if your books are a mess, or you mix things between different accounts or whatnot, or you didn't record the transactions, the proper line items, fine. But you can still do the current month's operations
you.
without restating 2023.
Right, exactly. And we brought this up to her, and there was just one excuse after another. But you know, it falls back on us. This is a very painful lesson that we have to learn. You know, as tax season
How
is
much did you
coming
pay
up.
her?
So we didn't pay her a whole bunch of money. We paid her like maybe $4,000 over the span of 11 months. But I knew she
11
was,
months.
well, you know, I knew she wasn't doing a whole lot, because during the summer when we were at our busiest, she didn't give us a bill for like 2 or 3 months. And I was very suspicious of that, because I was like, that means she's not doing anything. I mean, at least she's not
Yeah, you
charging me
knew,
for
but
something she's not doing, right? But it
but
was
you
just, you know,
knew,
it's horrible.
but you suspected
Yeah,
something wasn't right,
of
right?
course, of
But you
course.
waited on it, but you knew in your
Yeah,
gut that something wasn't right.
correct. Yeah, and
So
I
it
feel
wasn't
like
like
a
you had to
fool,
wait
you
until
know?
now to all of a sudden find out. Yeah, it wasn't like
No,
the meeting you had
yeah,
yesterday. No, you already suspected this.
no,
Like, you knew what those guys were going to tell you in the
yeah.
mastermind. You just needed like confirmation to fire her, basically.
Yes, and you know, I feel like a fool, but it's not gonna happen again.
No, but we've all been through that. I mean, I even faced that
Yes.
today. Like, there's people that I really like as people. I love them to death as people, and you know, we paid them a lot of money, but they don't do any work. And every time there's a new excuse, and we give them more money, and they promise this is the last time. That Parker knows this. Like, and Parker's done this too, where he and I both fronted these other people a lot of money, and then we give them the money, and they disappear. We don't hear from them for a couple months until they need the money again, and then it's then my car broke, and then it's, you know, like you know what it's like. It's like a friend. Yeah, like all of us have that friend that's always asking for money every time. And the only
Yeah.
time you hear from them is when they need the money really badly, like right now, because this bad thing will happen if they don't get the money right now. Okay, this is the last time I'm going to give. Okay, you promise this is the last time I'm going to give you the money, and then of course it's not the last time, right?
Right.
Anyway, so why not? I didn't think Sinead maybe mentioned this here, but why not just hire one of the accountants that one of the other HVAC guys is using?
So we thought about that, and we're getting some recommendations from the group or whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that didn't really make sense is our size. You know, we're only at $600,000 year to date now, and so
You
it shouldn't
can't pay
have taken,
$4,000 for her.
right, and it
You're so
shouldn't take,
small. It
yeah,
doesn't. mean, I can't imagine how many transactions you'd have to process. You're under 1 million. This is not like some complex business with like 8 subsidiaries, or I don't know, maybe you do have some complex way of like not paying taxes or whatever, shell companies or offshore stuff.
No,
Okay, fine.
man,
If you have that, then it's like, okay, you're like a major corporation with multiple,
no.
whatever, phantom companies. But I get the sense you have a very, very straightforward small business. So why don't you
You know
just
what we
say,
actually did?
why don't you say, look, you held us back. You actually hurt our business. It wasn't even the $4,000 you paid us. We were financially blind and we were counting on you to help us here. Well, why don't you just give us, we're a small struggling business trying to grow, probably like you are too. Why don't you just give us half the money back? Because we know you didn't work this whole time and we'll just call it quits. Okay. Just give us 2,000 back.
Yeah.
Unless you need
So
us to prove that, those months you weren't working, you didn't deliver us a P&L, like, come on. Or you got to bring in Dennis, who has a finance background, to actually inspect your books and see she hasn't done anything. Because you could log into QuickBooks and see what's going on, right?
yeah, yeah. So we actually got
Just
off
like
the
you
phone
could
with
log into someone's
QuickBooks.
Google account. You can log into the WordPress and see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sorry, go
we
ahead.
just
You
got
got
off
off
the
of
phone.
QuickBooks. Okay, I love QuickBooks. All right.
Yeah, we got off the phone with QuickBooks and we actually just hired somebody from QuickBooks. So apparently they have this new program rolling out that was they offer a cleanup and it was only $1,500. And we went ahead and did it because we're not trying to wait any longer.
Okay.
They said that it was through QuickBooks, so they will guarantee it 100%. The only thing that they couldn't do for us was go back and clean up 2023 because of tax purposes. So yeah, so they said that for $1,500, they would be able to clean up from January 1st, 2024 up until today. So we went ahead and did a no-brainer, and
Okay. Yeah. Do
yeah,
that as a
we're gonna
one
see how that
time,
goes.
but on an
Yeah.
ongoing basis, you want to have a bookkeeper accountant who specializes just at HVAC and
Exactly.
they're
That's the
used by
plan.
a friend of yours. If they're not used by a friend of yours,
That's the plan.
okay. But one time
Yeah.
for just to like get caught up, fine. Just sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're kind of doing it as our like Hail Mary to kind of catch up to what's going on at least this year, so we can get something, because that's something else I did mention, because that was a reason, like, oh, it's because of questions. So I had to be kind of blunt and direct and be like, well, the questions were this, kind of give the same example I received.
Yeah.
But it's like I told her, I was like, we're at the end of the year. I'm freaking out now because that's 2 years now that we're behind.
Yeah, and then the IRS will come at you, especially if you want to try to refile your quarterlies and whatnot. Now you owe taxes on, and once you get audited once, then, it's not good.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. That's not what we cover here. This is not a tax planning coaching thing. Okay. I know people who can help there, but that's not what this thing is for.
Yep. No, we appreciate the insight.
Isn't it amazing though? Like all of us as small business owners, even though we're all in kind of different industries, from a framework standpoint and like people issues and like just accountability, like it's all the same thing, right? The struggle with making the 1-minute video or just, it's like we spot like I feel your pain because there's this woman who you paid all this money to, and then like I'm sure like Sinead's thinking like, oh, that same thing happened to me, right? In a slightly different way, but it was the same thing. Maybe it was the same person. I mean, who knows, right? All right, cool. Anything else, guys?
It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we learn this lesson now rather than later. So.
Well, it's good.
And so you basically got an MBA.
Yeah, I learned
You got
from
you paid $4,000 for an MBA.
Right.
A lot of people say I don't need school. Well, no, you just paid for the school. Yeah, that was your MBA.
Tuition fee.
All right. No, for real. Like you're gonna pay one way or the other. So I'd rather pay a couple thousand than pay like $100,000 later because you're gonna learn a lesson at some point. Everyone I can spend hours telling you about how I made this mistake much bigger than you have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a couple minutes. I wanted to share with you a couple things on hiring just to, because there's, it's nice as owners where we're doing coaching stuff, but I want, if you don't hire people, here are some job posts, which you guys can use if you want. For example, we're hiring more content VAs, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you can hire your own person if you're at that stage. And even our own people might not understand how to do this for various reasons. We've covered this in other office hours, but I just want to walk through what is in a job posting and how we filter for quality people. So you can instantly tell without wasting time going through hundreds of applicants, okay? And I know this is being recorded so other people can go through it as well, and it corroborates with me having done this live hundreds of times. This is not the first time I've done this. And whether we do it on Upwork or onlinejobs.ph or in our, it's the same kind of vetting process, okay? So you say, okay, we're hiring for a particular role. This is what you do in that role. And we'll mention some of the tools. We'll mention some terms like, hey, EEAT, and I'll say, Google it to show you understand. In a lot of job posting sites, they don't let you include links because they think you're trying to circumvent their system. So you just say Google this and that. That's partly why we want to make everything Googleable. And we want to test whether they're able to use Google or if they're lazy. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to use Google. They think they do, right? We'll say, here are the skills to be able to fulfill those responsibilities. Do not send a canned response. Google me and find a video over 30 minutes long from the last week, repurposing it into an article. So this makes this job posting evergreen. So even in a year from now, they can come in and Google me and they'll find there's all kinds of videos and podcasts and whatever that they can then turn into an article following our article guidelines that satisfy EEAT article guidelines. Google it to see. And if they Google it, then they'll check, article guidelines, then they will come to this. And it shows 4-stage content factory. Here's how we take the raw video and process it and blah, 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 blah. And eventually it turns into an article. And here's things you need to check in to make sure that this article doesn't have some basic mistakes in it. Because we already know what the most common mistakes are, using AI the wrong way, or, here are all like the most common mistakes. So it allows them to do a test example against fresh content, because we said from the last week of when they see this, because if they use something from a year ago, or if they use some other piece of content, or if they just say confidently, oh, I'm really good at video editing or SEO or WordPress or whatever they say, I'm really good at, oh yeah, we'll prove it, right? Then, it's very clear here. And then you can't argue these points, right? So it's not enough to say, make sure it fits, it meets the checklist here. We also show how to do it, and all the stuff here links to associated training, right? Here's on how to do this stuff on WordPress, or here's how you process videos in the right way, or here's us using ChatGPT the right way, or here's like other ways of looking at what a good article is, and when do we link, and never do this and don't do that, and lots of examples of good articles. So there's no way to claim that, oh, we didn't show how to do it, or, oh, this is actually a great article. I rated a 9 out of 10. And it's not like a painting, like, oh, I think this is a beautiful painting. That's subjective, right? So, and also you have to have a good ratings. And, here's the expertise. And then we say that you have to answer a couple of these basic questions. Like, here's one. How do we screen against mindless applicants who use AI tools? How to use it thoughtfully, practicing active listening, right? So you'll see there's a lot of applicants. And so of the people that apply, it's very easy to instantly screen. So A, are they using the keyword? So in this case, we hey, use the keyword banana split. So this one, banana split, this one, banana split. If they don't, instantly thumbs down, right? And you can see there are lots of people that apply, but would instantly thumbs down because is there the keyword here? And then some of them, they look like they might be. The little dot here means that we've been communicating with them. Let's see if they pass. So we know in the last 7 days, 30 minutes longer, process it using the checklist. We posted it to a blog post, right? And here she didn't post as blog post. She posted as a Word doc or whatnot, right? Like that didn't follow the directions. Didn't say Word doc. It said, here's the guidelines. It's a blog post. We're testing your ability to use WordPress, right? And then so she finally puts it here this morning. So here it is. And we also will say, and if you think it's good enough to be hired, share it. So if they share something that's good enough, we'll say like that you're saying you think this is good enough to be shared. So for the first time, let's review this article. I've never seen this article. You can see it just came this morning. And does it meet our guidelines? I can tell within seconds. Oh, actually, this is not even a public site. Wait, what is this? Can you get to this? I don't think that's the one. Yeah, it's not. It's not a public site. Not a public. You didn't grade yourself. Okay. So she's pretty much failed. And it's not just because they're Pakistan, but most Pakistanis usually fail. Writer of distinction. No. How about this one? This person made a video, 1-minute video. Okay, that's cool. Hello, Dennis, blah, 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 blah. Let's look. Oh, I like the video. So there's the question. How do we stand out and not be mindless? Ensure the output aligns expectations, do what's required. Okay, good. Fair enough. They used AI to answer that. You can see it. Inverted pyramid structure. That's not what we talked about. I'm social media manager, all this. I attached my blog post, which I'd rate a 7. Really? Okay. Well, it's a Word doc. This is a Word doc, not a WordPress blog post. Why? do you think? So we're testing for active listening. We ask this. So it only takes a few seconds to screen, right? And I'm not going to hit the thumbs down because they're not necessarily, I mean, there's probably an 80% chance we're going to decline at this point here, right? You see how that works? And then you can easily go through hundreds. Look at all these messages that are coming through. You can see, and I've hired some people in the last week off of this. It's amazing how, like, when I do it myself, we're just so much faster. Other people take months and months and months. And like, what is going on? Like, I see that on some of these, I can go back a little further where there'll be like 40 or 50 applicants and we haven't even touched any of them. Like, what's going on here, right? So, at all job posts. Yeah, I hired someone on this one. They did a fantastic job, right? So we had the 11,000 individual files that we had to process. And this guy wrote a script and I paid him $600 for it, right? Ended up hiring this guy. Let's look at the messaging on this one, just to show you real quick, and we'll be done in 2 minutes. So again, we're talking to all these guys, like this guy here, okay? Look, so we went round and round and round, and he gave us a sample. The sample was good, and now we're verifying it. I use ChatGPT to verify the file, right? So I can hire programmers for a couple $100 and test their output. And you don't even have to be that technical, which is what I was explaining to Parker. As long as you understand the GCT, the goals, content, and targeting. Just like Sinead, hiring someone to build a website, as long as you understand what has to happen, ChatGPT can analyze the code. ChatGPT can do, whatever it is. And I literally would upload the sample files, put them in the ChatGPT, and see what's going on. And here's the one. Here's the longer thread, right? Where we're going back and forth. And I don't know where the rest of it is, but yeah, like I'm checking. I ran it through ChatGPT, and I said, ChatGPT, analyze according to blah blah blah, and it said, oh, you found duplicate items and blah blah blah, like, because he gave me a file, 14,000 records, because there were 11,000 invoices had 14,000 line items, because some people had multiple line items in an invoice, right? And so instead of manually updating all this stuff into a file, which then ChatGPT can answer, I had someone write a script and went around, but of course I was able to qualify them. Because in the job post itself, I used the trapdoor, which is use the keyword to show that you're doing the thing. You can see this, right? Out of the 13 I found, them was pretty good. And it literally took me 5 minutes to write this thing. Because you can tell this was written by ChatGPT. Final output by ChatGPT, because I wrote the thing, put it in ChatGPT, said I'll format into a nice blog post or into a job post on Upwork. I gave it context and it did it. So when you see the star, that usually means that ChatGPT was working on it, right? Or emojis, or ChatGPT, right? And here it is. It uses our keyword in here, which I always bury the keyword, right? So very easy to hire if you know what you're doing. If you don't, you're just going to get a bunch of garbage posts and waste your time, right? All right, guys, appreciate you all.